tikatevu l'shana tova tikatevu tikatevu v'techateimu. May we all be inscribed, written and sealed in the book of life, us and all Klal Yisrael, for a good year. Amen.
Amen.
It's good to see you all. If you have your Machzorim, we'll invite you to open to page 34, where our Yom Kippur gathering will begin. 34 with Matovu, how good it is to be together back in Shul making a minyan on Yom Kippur Day.
Matovu halecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. My tovu halecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Page 39, 6 lines down, is Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
We turn ahead to page 63 and sing the last few lines of the last psalm, middle paragraph, Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, betzir tzalei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, betzir tzalei trua. Kol hashama tehallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, kol hashama tehallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Page 69, on this Yom Hadin, this day of judgment, Jews traditionally believe we sit not only in a sanctuary congregation, but in a courtroom to be judged by God and others than ourselves. So we refer to God often during these days as HaMelech, the king or the ruler, the judge. It is the theme of the Shachrit morning service. May we be found acceptable before God's ruling, others and ourselves, on this Yom Hadin. Amen. Page 69.
Melech Yoshev, Akisei Ramanisa, Shochen Ad Maram Geroshimo, Bechai Tuv Rananu Tzadikim Baronai, Laisharim Navati Ela Bifi Sharim Tit Romav Vivrit Tzadikim Tibarach Uvilshon Chazidim Titkadash Uvikeref Geroshim Tithalal Makalot Ruvad Amachabed Yisrael Re'ai Yipaer Shimcha Malkeinu B'chol Dor Vador Shekein Chovek Yitzorim Lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu B'lei Avotenu V'imotenu Lehodot Lehalel Leshabeach Levaer Leromem Leheder Levarech Le'elel Kales Hakol Divrei Shiro B'tishbachon David Ben Yishai Avtecha Mishichecha Yishtabach Shim Echalad Malkeinu HaMelech HaGadol VaHaGadosh B'Shamayim u'Ba'aretz Ki Lachana Adonai Eloheinu B'lei Avotenu V'imotenu Shir Shvelad Vel Zimram Zimel Shal Natzik Gedol HaGvarad Yifer Kedusha Malchut Berachot Ve'hodaot Me'atam Yerolam Baruch Atah Adonai El Melech Gadol B'Tishbachot El HaOdaot Adon Haniplachot Abocher B'Sher Zimra Melech Elchei HaOlamim.
Amen. Page 70 at the bottom.
Yitgadal v'yitkada Shemei Rabbah B'yamad Yivrak Yurtei B'yam Lich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeducho beit Yisrael ha'gala u'v'yizman kari v'yimaru amen Yehi shmira b'varach v'yalam v'yamei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithala shemid kudisha barichu li'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nehemata damiran me'amam yemaru amen.
Page 71. Good to see you here. Hope you're enjoying being in shul. A lot of us haven't been back in a little while and seen the ark and everything, and here we are. On page 71, we celebrate our minyan, our community, with Baruch Hu. We invite you to rise. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam HaPoteach Lanu Sharei Rachamim Umeir Einei HaMechakim Lisliato Yotzer Or V'Rei Choshech Oseh Shalom U'V'Rei Et HaKol. In the English, the penultimate paragraph at the bottom, Baruch Atah Adonai, our God, ruler of time and space, who opens the gates of mercy, giving light to those who await your forgiveness, forming light and creating darkness, bringing harmony while creating all. May we all be forces of light to repel the darkness of sin and error, transgression, evil in this world, and help to make a better planet for one and for all. Amen. May be seated, everyone. I'm going to turn a few pages ahead to page 75. We're in the middle. You'll see words of holiness of Kadosh.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech haaretz kevodo. V'afar v'chayra Kadosh Barash Kadom, Minasim levatzalafim, Nevatam shamchim v'yomabrim,
Baruch Kevod Adonai,
Mimekomo,
Kama, Baruch Hadash Shal Tzion.
המחדש בתשובו בכל יום תמיד מעשה וראשית, כאמור לעושה אורים גדולים, כי לעולם חסדו. אור חדש, על ציון תאיר, אור חדש, על ציון תאיר, אור חדש, על ציון תאיר, אור חדש, על ציון תאיר. ונזכה כולנו מהרה ליורו. ונזכה כולנו מהרה ליורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Amen. Page 76. For those of you who are wearing a talit, we'll invite you to gather the Arba Kanfot, the four corners. We bring them together before the paragraphs of the Shema so we can express our unity with Israel and the world, and also to kiss them to show our affection for our Jewish tradition during the third paragraph over the tzitzit. Page 76 at the bottom.
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו כי אל פועל ושמעת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת להודות לך, וליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטודפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Second paragraph 177 on our own.
ויאמר אדוני המשה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בניהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית על כנף בתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. לדור ודור הגיע מה שמו קיים, וכיסון אבחון מלכותו ואמתו לקיים.
Page 80 at the top.
תהילות לעליון ברכו וברך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל חנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות וספלה, שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Page 80, we invite you to rise for Tzur Yisrael, right before the Amidah. It'll lead into the Yom Kippur morning Amidah right after.
Tzur Yisrael, kuma b'Yizrat Yisrael, uvtekin umecha Yehuda v'Yisrael, goleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, kedosh Yisrael. Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Amen. Page 313. We turn ahead to the parts for Yom Kippur. 313, the Amidah begins.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Ivoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Sarah Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Rivka Yaakov Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'konei HaKol V'zocher Chostei Avot v'Imahot Umevi Goel Lifnei V'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yavad Misod Chachamim U'Nevonim U'Milemed Avat Mivinim Evtecha Pi B'Tfilah U'Tachanunim Lechalot U'Chanen B'nei Melech Malei Rachamim Mochel V'Soleach La'avonim
Achreinu lechaim, melech hafetz b'chaim, v'chatveinu b'sefer hachayim, Elohim chayim.
Melech Ozer, Ufakeinu Moshe Magen, Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch hu u'baruch shemo.
Magen Abraham, Ufaket Sarah.
Amen.
Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayim Yitziat Avrav le'Hoshia. Mechol ke'el
Chayim b'chesed.
Mechayim meitim berachamim rabim.
Somech noflim v'rofei cholim.
Umati.
Asurim.
Umekayim
emunato.
Lishenei afar.
Far.
Michamocha b'gevorot u'mirot.
Melach.
Melech meimit u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua.
Ichamocha.
Av
Harachamim.
Zocher
Yitzurav.
L'chaim
Berachamim.
V'le'amat al-chayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hametim.
Amen. Page 315. Arguably the holiest prayer of the year. Mark, you coming up in the Aron Kodesh? Come on up, buddy. Arguably the holiest prayer of the year, the Unatan Tokef, proclaims the holiness and majesty of this day, reminds us that no 2 days are alike, and that this day is a singular day in our lives. When it's over, it's over. So we're told that that's life. Every day comes, days come and go. Don't wait for a great day. Don't wait for another day. Don't wait for a better day. Make today all it can be. Full of life, full of family, full of each other, full of good things. So we never have to regret later, I wasted so much time waiting for that which didn't come. Unatana Tokef expresses all that. At the bottom, it expresses the great uncertainties of our years. We never know who shall live and who shall die, who shall be well and who shall not. And so we live with that. And that's one reason why we pray and why we hope. But on the other hand, life is filled with certainties. We can know who we are, what we believe in, who we want to be, and what we want to do, and act accordingly with each other, sharing a lot of love and a lot of help, and do the best we can with what we know in a world where we never know what's really going to be. So this is life, the human experience, that which is known, that which is not. We juggle them both, and we celebrate this day of awe on Yom Kippur together with Unatana Tokef as the Ark is open at the top of 315.
ובחר ולך לקדושה, כי אתה אלוהינו מלך מוחל וסולח. ונתן תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום, ועוד ינשא מחוזך, יגאל בחסד כיסך, ותשב עליו באמת, ותשב עליו באמת. אמת, כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח, ויודע בהן, וחותם, וסופר מונה. ותזכור כל הנשכחות, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות. מאליו יקרא, ומאליו יקרא, ומאליו יקרא, וחותם יד כל אדמו, ובשופר גדול ייתקע. וקודם עמד הקיץ שמה, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחיל רדה יוחזון, ויאמרו, הנה יום הדין, הנה יום הדין, לבכות על צבא מרום בדין, כי לא יזכו עיניך בדין. וכל באי עולם, באי עולם, יעברון לפניך כבני מרון, כבקרת רועד מעביר צאנו תחת שבטו, כן תעביר ותספור, ותמנה ותפקוד, נפש כל חי, ותחתוך קצפה לך בריאה, ותכתוב את גזר דינם. בראש Shana Yikatevun V'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur Yichatemun Kama Yavrun V'chama Yibareyun Mi yeh u'mi yamut Mi v'kitzo u'mi lo v'kitzo Berush Hashanah Yikatevun U'v'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur Yichatemun Mi va'esh u'mi va'mayim Mi va'cherov u'mi va'chaya Mi va'ra'av u'mi va'tzama Mi va'ra'ash u'mi va'magefa
Rosh Hashanah
Yikatevun U'v'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur Yichatemun Mi v'charika u'mi v'askila Mi yanuach u'mi yanua Mi yashkir u'mi yitaraf Mi yeshalev u'mi yoser Mi ani u'mi yashir Mi yushpal u'mi yarum Berosh Hashanah Yikatevun U'v'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur V'yom Tzom Kippur Yichatemun U'teshuva U'nefila U'tzedaka Ma'avir Yerah HaGzerah
Page 316 in the margin. Please join me responsively. The left margin, all the way to the left on 316. When we really begin a new year, it is decided who shall be truly alive and who shall merely exist. Who shall attain fulfillment in their day and who shall not attain fulfillment in their day. Who shall be pierced by the sharp sword of envy, and who shall be torn by the wild beast of resentment? Who shall be shattered by the earthquake of social change, and who shall be plagued by the pressures of conformity? Who shall be content, and who shall wander in search of satisfaction? Who shall be at ease, and who shall be afflicted with anxiety? Who shall be brought low with futility, and who shall be exalted through achievement? Last paragraph together. Let us resolve to repent, to pray, and to do good deeds, so that we may begin a truly new year. Amen, our wish for all. The ark is closed. We remain standing for the Kedusha on 317. Kadosh, Kadosh, Tzavot,
Melech haaretz
Kevodo.
Kivod male male olamai vekom kivodo Kivodo male olam Mishat afsholim ze laze ayem vekom kivodo Mishat afsholim ze laze ayem vekom kivodo Liomatam Baruch Yomeru
Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo.
Mimkomo Huyifen Mimkomo Huyifen Barachamim Barachamim Veyachon Am Hamiyachadim Shemo Erev Boker B'chol Yom Tamid Hamayim Yahva Shema Omrim
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu,
Adonai
Echad.
Eloheinu Avinu Malkeinu Moshienu Vehu
Yashmienu, Yashmienu Barachamav, Sheni, 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 Sheni Le'enei Kol Chai.
Liot lachem le'Elohim
Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adir adirenu Adonai Eloheinu Ma'adir shimcha b'cha'aretz Ve'haya Adonai l'melcha kol ha'aretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai
Echad.
U'shmo echad U'divrei koshecha katov lemor
Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yichzion, Ledor Vador, Hallelujah.
Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha, ulenetach nitachim, Yerushacha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu, Mirbinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, Ki el-Melech Gadol, Ki el-Melech Gadol, v'kadosh ata, Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha, ulenetach nitachim, Yerushacha naktish.
Page 325. The ark is open for Aleinu, now added from the end also to the middle of the service to highlight the word Aleinu, which means it's on us. Today we ask ourselves, what do we feel obligated to do and what should we feel obligated to do? We should be obligated to take care of ourselves, to take care of our family and friends, each other, our community, the people of Israel, and all of humanity, best we can. And if we all help each other out, we'll build a better world. Ark is open, 325.
ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו ככם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We turn back now to page 261. Our high holiday prayers in the middle of 261, Vayavur Adonai describes the compassionate attributes of God that we hope to mirror and to embody in ourselves on this day when we ask for forgiveness.
ויעבור אלי על פניו ויקרא אדוני אדוני רחום
וחנון
ערך אפיים ורב חסד
באמת
נוצר חסד לאלפים נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה וסלחת לבנינו וחטאתנו וחטאנו
סלח לנו אבינו
כי חטאנו מחלנו מלכנו כי פשענו כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
Oh, forgive us, God, for we have sinned. Pardon our iniquities, for we have transgressed. We ask you, because we believe in you, to be a kind and forgiving God who will be generous with all who call on you. Grant atonement and purify us on this day of Yom Kippur, as it is written in the Torah. For atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your transgressions. In the presence of God, each other, and ourselves, may we all feel renewed and pure for a new year of life by the end of the day. Amen. Page 262. 262. Our ark openers are coming up. Perfect timing. We're going to open the ark for Shema Kolenu and ask God and others and ourselves to listen to our prayers. Listen to our prayers and to accept them and not cast us away, but help us become good people again in this coming year.
Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Chus v'rachem rachem aleinu v'kaber berachamim uvraton tfilateinu Hashiver אל תיקח ממנו, אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, כי אחות כוחנו, אל תעזבנו,
263 at the top of the page. Salach lanu, and then ki anu amecha.
Eloheinu v'le'avoteinu v'imotenu, slach lanu mecha lanu, kaper lanu, slach lanu mecha lanu, kaper lanu, ki anu amecha, yata Eloheinu, anu vanecha, yata avinu,
Anu avadecha,
yata
Adoneinu,
anu
kahalecha,
yata
Elkeinu, Anu nachlatecha,
yata
Goraleinu,
anu
Tzonecha,
yata
Roeinu, Anu charmecha,
yata notreinu,
Anu fulatecha,
yata yotreinu, anu
Rayatecha,
yata dodeinu,
Anu segulatecha,
yata keroveinu,
Anu amecha,
yata makeinu, anu mamirecha, yata mamireinu.
We thank all of our ark openers and closers. Great to have you on the bima. Good stuff. Now on page 264, the first confessional vidoy, we follow the cantor with Hashamnu.
Ay 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 Ashamnu,
Hashamnu,
Gagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Ibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Evinu,
Evinu,
Behirshanu,
Behirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Chamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Kafanu Shaker,
Kafanu Shaker,
Ay 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 Yachnura,
Yatsnu Ra,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latnu,
Latsnu,
Maratnu,
Maranu,
Niatnu,
Niatsnu,
Saranu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Ashanu,
Pashanu,
Saranu,
Sararnu,
Ishinu Oref,
Kishinu Oref,
Ay 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 ay
Yai-da-da-dai-dai-dai,
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu.
Titanu. Page 266, we come to the second confessional called Al Chait. It's the longer one. We begin together on 266, responsively in the English at the top. We have sinned against you unwillingly and willingly. We have sinned against you thoughtlessly. We have sinned against you through sexual immorality. We have sinned against you knowingly and deceitfully. We have sinned against you by defrauding others. We have sinned against you through forbidden trysts. We have sinned against you by scorning parents and teachers. We have sinned against you by resorting to violence. We have sinned against you through foul speech.
And we have sinned against you through foolish talk.
We have sinned against you through pursuing the impulse to evil.
We have sinned against you wittingly and unwittingly.
Together, for all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, and grant us atonement. Eloha selichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. Al chen shekatan lefanecha b'chai.
אחרי שקטן לפניך בעיניים רמות, ואחרי שקטן לפניך בעזות מצח, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו מחל לנו, כפר לנו, סלח לנו
Mechal lanu.
כפר לנו.
Near the bottom on 267, we have sinned against you through empty promises, and we have sinned against you through baseless hatred. We have sinned against you by betraying trust, and we have sinned against you by succumbing to confusion.
Slach lanu mechal lanu, kaper lanu, slach lanu mechal lanu, kaper lanu.
Page 270, our high holiday additions to the Amidah, so many of them referring to being included and make it into the Book of Life. The top, the second paragraph was one line in bold print in Hebrew and then the English. Uchtov lechaim tovim kol b'nei veritecha. And inscribe all the people of your covenant for a good life. Amen. Last paragraph in the English on 270 on the left. May we and the entire house of Israel be called to mind and inscribed for life, blessing, sustenance, and peace in the book of life. Bracha v'shalom tova. Bracha v'shalom satova. V'nikatev lefanecha.
אנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום, ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Amen. Page 271. The ark is open at this time as we sing Avinu Malkeinu, asking God, now that we've just said what we've done wrong, now we're asking for forgiveness and a good year. So let's bring it all home as the ark is open with Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu hachzirenu b'tshuva shlema lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu שלח רפואה שלמה לחולי עמך, אבינו מלכנו זכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך. אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
On the left in the English, right in the middle, the 5 lines we've been reading. Many services, you know them for inscription. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for good in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu כתבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu כתבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of sustenance.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kadmenu Sefer Zichuyos.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of merit.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kadmenu Sefer Slicha Mechila.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness. Avinu
Avinu
Malkeinu,
Malkeinu,
Atzmach,
Chametz Elanu, Shua Bekadosh.
Shema Koleinu Nalenu.
Selam Antenu.
Al Yichudecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, Selaman Maish, Vaish, Uvamayim, Al Kiddush Shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Selaman Imlo Lemanenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vaneinu, Ki En Banu
Masim.
Aseh
Imanu.
Tzedaka
Vachesed.
Aseh Imanu
Tzedaka
Vachesed
Vehoshienu.
Avinu
Malkeinu.
Chonenu
Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu.
Chonenu Vanenu
Ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu. Tzedaka v'chesed.
Aseh Imanu Tzedaka V'Chesed V'Hoshienu.
You may be seated, everyone. Good Yontiv, Gemar Chatima Tova. At this time, we call upon our president, Michael Drosner, for words on these high holy days. Yontiv.
Good Yontif, everyone. I'm going to first start and thank Rabbi Greif and Cantor Benjamin for performing a second Yom Kippur service for us today so that we can celebrate and observe the holiday in a safe way. When I was thinking about how I wanted to describe BTBJ, how to explain this special and unique place, I kept thinking that BTBJ is built different. Do folks know what that means? I'm seeing a few more nods now than I did earlier. It's a phrase that the kids use to describe something that is truly one of a kind. And I think that's true about BTBJ because we're such an incredibly diverse group of individuals. We're in every possible age bracket, various income levels, family situations, political ideologies, and so much more. Some can read, write, and speak Hebrew fluently, others not a word. Some have an affinity for Judaism, which drives their daily lives, while others struggle to connect with Jewish teachings and even wonder, what am I doing here sometimes? Some are at BTBJ 3 times a week to connect with their Jewish history and identity and spirituality, while others come about 3 times a year. But we've put out an all-inclusive mat here. We've opened our arms to greet you and to accommodate all who wish to join this community, whenever that is, however you feel comfortable, and without judgment. At BTBJ, we embrace that diversity, and that's what makes us special. And that's why I think BTBJ is built different. Don't get me wrong, we are very much like other wonderful synagogues in our community. Generations of students have walked our halls. Our youngest learned by reenacting Bible stories and Jewish life cycle events, by learning Jewish songs and hymns and prayers, and studying for the bar and bat mitzvah. Adults enrich their lives by taking adult education classes like BTBJU, and Daf Yomi, and Trope Study with Cantor Benjamin and Rabbi Greif, as well as attending Rabbi Roni's Salon series. Others connect with Men's Club and Sisterhood and spiritual, philanthropic, religious, and social events. And of course, our community is steeped in one of the most important pillars of Judaism, Tikkun Olam. Over the past year, just to name a few things that we have done, we've donated food and gift cards to the Colonial Neighborhood Council. We've created blessing bags for the homeless in coordination with St. Miriam's Church in Flowertown, and we provided meals to first responders during the pandemic. Underlying everything we do here is a set of values and beliefs, a connection with the past and the future, and an understanding that teaching Judaism to the next generation is vitally important. Last week's Torah portion was Vayelach, where Moses wanted Joshua to pass along God's teachings to future generations. Now, don't be so impressed. Remember, it was my son's bar mitzvah last weekend. But Brandon talked about what he learned from his parents and his grandparents. And it certainly hit home because I would not be here today as the president of BTBJ without my father's direction. When Mindy and I hesitated on joining a synagogue, concerned about time commitments and money and fit and all of the complicated factors that sometimes draw younger generations to not join, it was my father who gently guided us in the right direction. He understood the importance, both short-term and long-term, for our family and for all Jewish families, of passing on these important traditions from generation to generation, from Moses to Joshua, from my father to me to my kids. In my role as president of this community, I want to ensure that BTBJ remains strong and vibrant for all of us and for the generations who will follow. I'm asking you to be a partner in ensuring Jewish continuity in our community so that we can see our children and our grandchildren, God willing, telling Jewish tales and experiencing Judaism in the most wonderful and meaningful way possible. One of the most important ways we do that, of course, is asking members to contribute financially. And trust me, I know exactly what people pay to be members here and to attend a religious school here, and I know it's a lot of money. However, I can also promise you, and I think it's pretty well known, that one of the successes of BTBJ, one of the strengths of BTBJ, is our nimble budget and our understated ways. So you can know that each and every dollar that we have is put to good use. As you can imagine, 5781 was not much better for our revenue than the last 6 months of 5780. Now don't get me wrong, it was much better than the last 6 months of 5780. But there were still challenges that we needed to address. As the COVID pandemic continued, we saw reduced membership, especially amongst families that only attend on high holidays. They could not attend last year, perhaps were unable or uncomfortable to attend this year, and of course there are increasing options on the internet. Attendance at the Early Childhood Center, while increasing over the year, is still not where it was pre-pandemic because so many parents are still working from home. And it's certainly challenging to run large fundraisers and bring people together over the past 18 months of the pandemic. However, we at BTBJ remain in a position of strength despite those challenges because of our effective budgeting, because of our great use of applying for and obtaining grants, which I thank Val for greatly. And we had an efficient and effective Golden Raffle fundraiser last year, and I thank you all for contributing to that important event to help plug holes in the budget during a difficult year. All of this is to say that we continue to build upon our strengths while addressing and acknowledging challenges that exist in the world today. We're going to collect high holiday pledges different this year, and I hope for the future. Instead of walking around and collecting cards, you should receive an email from the office. In fact, you should have received it already, and you'll be able to submit your pledge electronically. I know that many people have received it because the responses yesterday, in just a few hours after the email was sent, were absolutely overwhelming, and we thank you all for your support. If anyone would prefer us to send paperwork to the house to fill out, please let Val or Kathy know in the office. Feel free to let me know as well. Your contributions are a way to honor your Jewish background while also fortifying a Jewish future here at our small but mighty shul, BTBJ. With your help, we will not only be able to carry on the fine traditions that have been established by those who came before us, but we'll be able to reach new and greater heights for those who follow in our footsteps. As a community, I know that we will ensure many generations of Jewish continuity here at BTBJ. Gemar Chatima Tova, may you and yours be sealed in the book of life for good. Thank you.
Amen. Go ahead, thank you. Thank you, Michael, and Muscle Tough on Ben's recent bar mitzvah. What a joy. Okay, everybody. We're going to invite you to turn to page 274 in your Machzorim. We're going to take out the Sifrei Torah. I know a lot of you might not have seen them in a while, but last I saw, and that wasn't too long ago, they're still there. So you'll enjoy them and see them and get a chance to reconnect with our scrolls. Hey guys, you guys opening the door? I'll tell you when. Stand up. 274.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עושה עמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום אב הרחמים היטיב ברצונך את ציון תפנה חומות ירושלים תפנה חומות ירושלים יהיה בך לבד בטחנו מלך ארם ונישא אדון עולמים.
I am pretty sure, even though I can't see him, Aaron Sewell's probably here, right in the lobby. If he is, if you see him, ask him to come up. What?
He's coming.
Yeah, I knew it. Look at that. Look at that. Want to come join us on the bema, Aaron? The ark is open for Vayhi.
ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Li'amo Yisrael Bitu Shato Adonai Adonai Rachum V'chanun Erech Apayim V'rav Chesed V'yemen Notzer Chesed Alafim נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך ענני ויאמר ישעך
We're all doing one, Janice, remember? We're all doing one point.
Do I have the right one? We need the first one, right?
Yeah, we need the first
That's probably this one.
Okay.
Let me just check. I didn't know we were only. That's right, you can hold two, we'll put them back.
Cool.
That's okay. Turn around.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shema
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai Tzion Romema Shemo Yachdav Adonai Hayiduna Yayivura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Kicho B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Kicho B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Adonai Hamamracha Yamit Na'aseh Lechol Erosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'Yishtachavu L'Adam Raglav Kadoshu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'Yishtachavu L'Hakodsho Yadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
Nala Shevet, you may be seated, everyone. We're going to invite you to turn to page 365. 365. The Torah reading for our second service this morning is from the book of Vayikra, chapter 19. It is part of the holiness code of the Torah, and it will conclude with the famous words of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. 3 aliyot, page 365. Our first aliyah, come forward with our readers. Ya'amod Rishon. First aliyah, come and join us, everybody.
We'll take it off when we read it, we can. And we want you to find the place. So let's do this. Get the banana. And it's probably got it. So take the right? Dan's gonna follow along. Are you using something to help you?
No.
Okay,
But
then
I
leave your
simply
book right
sit
here. Right? Take the and point right there. Everyone can touch the tower. And say the blessings. You take your time, you're gonna be fine, okay? Right here behind you.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Asher b'chavanu mikol ha'amim v'nachmanu et torato Baruch atah Noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'adaber Adonai el Moshe ki amor daber el ka adat b'nei Yisrael Ve'amarta Elohim Kedoshim Tihu Ki Kadosh Ani Adonai Elohechem Ishimo Ve'aviv Tirahu Va'et Shavtotai Tishmoru Ani Adonai Elohechem Al Tifnu Al Ha'al Elilim V'lo Mesecha Lo Tisoru Lachem Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natamanu Torah tevet v'chayei olam otam etocheinu Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
We're up to our second aliyah, which you'll find on 365 with verse 5. What's really interesting about this section, I love this. You know, there are things that we do that are Jewish, and they're for Jews, and Jews get it, and sometimes people aren't Jewish don't. This chapter in the middle of the Torah, you can see it's pretty evenly spaced there. This chapter says to all of Israel, be holy like God. And then you wonder, well, how do I do that? And one answer is, how do you do that? Do Jewish things. That's not what it says. You know how you become holy? It says do human things. Look at 365 of the following pages. It says honor your parents. It says when their people are hungry, give them the corners of the field. The stranger, make a part of you. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't defraud. Pay a person when they're expecting their salary so they can eat. Don't insult the deaf or place a stumbling block before the blind. None of this is about Jews or non-Jews. It's about people. I remember reading that verse years ago, thinking, don't insult the deaf. Are you kidding me? It's a perfect person insult. They can hear you. They're going to hurt them. So why does it tell us specifically? Not just don't insult people. Don't insult to death. Because if people see you making fun of someone who can't fight back because they can't hear behind their back, then you ridicule them, they have no chance to defend themselves. Judaism doesn't want to put people in defenseless situations without help. That's why we don't do that, and that's why we help people who really need more help, like the hungry and the homeless and the widow and the orphan. That's how we become holy. You could become very holy by doing great mitzvot, listening to the shofar, learning the Torah, studying, building a sukkah. But when it comes down to it, in the middle of the Torah, be proud of this as Jews I am, and especially when you talk to people who aren't Jewish. You could tell them that we are taught as Jews to take care of each other and to love your Jewish neighbors yourself. Your neighbors yourself. Great, just what I didn't want to say. I said, love your neighbors yourself. It doesn't say love your Jewish neighbors yourself. It says love your neighbor as yourself. We can be really proud of that if people ask us, like, do you hate others? No. In fact, it's a mitzvah for us to take care of you and to care for each other. It's a great section of Torah, and I hope you'll enjoy reading it with the commentary. We are now up to our next aliyah, our second one, verse 5. Yamdu Hashnim.
Baruch et Adonai HaBorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vehi tizbahu zevach shlamim l'Adonai lirotzonechem tizbahu. V'yom zivachachem yachel mimachorat v'hanotar ad yom hashlishi b'yesh yisarev. Ve'im he'achol yachel b'yom hashlishi piguhu lo yiratzeh. V'yochlav avono Yisak ki et kodesh ha'ich ha'chol v'ratzonechem v'hanafta hanefesh ha'im me'omeach v'vkutzrechem et kitzur artzechem lo techale pet sidcha liksur v'laket kitzur lo telaket v'karmecha lo telel uferet karmaka lo telaket le'ani v'loger hazov otam ani Adonai lechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah tenet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashkach to our Torah reader and to our aliyot for the second aliyah. Josh, very good. Yashkach. Page 366. Any Robin Hood fans here? The only one? Are you kidding me? Heard of Robin Hood? I read Robin Hood when I was a kid and I fell in love with it. The whole idea of a group of people trying to do good things, take care of each other. Since then I've loved every movie, read all the stories I can, love Robin. Then I read Leviticus 19. And what did Leviticus 19 say? Robin Hood is no mitzvah doer. Look at verse 15. You know that Robin Hood was known to steal from the rich and give to the poor? And along comes Judaism and says, stealing is never good. And here it says, don't favor the poor or show deference to the rich, but judge everyone fairly. Robin Hood would steal from the rich to give to the poor, and we'd cheer him on. You know, the poor have to eat. The rich are taking too much money. And then maybe you get to a courtroom and you see that somebody stole $50 from a very rich person and they were starving to death, And you go, let them get away with it, you know? They needed that 50, the rich person didn't. And suddenly you get here and it says, don't favor the poor, show deference to the rich. And I understood that law is law and justice is justice. The bottom line on this is we should build and live in a society where we don't need Robin Hoods, where everyone has something to eat and everyone is taken care of, and people aren't too rich or too poor. But it's not the way the world works. So I still love Robin Hood, still do. And I dig the stories, and I dig all the good stuff of taking care and feeding hungry people and equality. But at the same time, when it comes to justice, we're supposed to mete out equal justice. Just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you're not entitled to justice. And just because you may be poor or broken doesn't mean you can get away with everything. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a society that worked. So I share those thoughts with you when they're very appropriate for our third and final aliyah on 366 at the top, verse 11.
Baruch Adonai Hamfarah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Lo tignovu v'lo tichachasu v'lo tishakru ish b'mito v'lo tishavu v'shmi l'sheker v'chalata et shem Elohecha ani Adonai v'ta'asok et re'echa v'lo tigzoho lo talim v'ulat zichir otach ad boker lo tichalel cheresh v'livnei ovel lo titain mikshol V'yeret mi'alohecha ani Adonai, lo ta'asu ovel b'mishpat, lo tisei p'nei dal, v'lo tahader p'nei gadol, v'tzedek tishpat amitecha, lo chelef, lo telef, rachil be'anecha, lo tamid al dam re'echa ani Adonai, lo tishne et achicha bilvadecha, chocheach tochiach et amitecha, lo tisei elav chet, lo tikem, v'lo titor et b'nei amecha, v'ahavat l'rechecha, kamocha ani Adonai.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yashkoch to our third aliyah. Amy, beautiful reading. The Smiths, good to see you guys. My big Eagle fans. Go Eagles, huh? Yeah, really. So we've just read 3 aliyot from a beautiful chapter of Leviticus 19, the Holiness Code. And remember, love your neighbors yourself, all of us in this together. We love our Judaism, but we should also love humanity and do what we can to help each other regardless of who we are. So now we are going to offer Misha Barach. Keep in mind the names of people who are sick, who are ill in your lives, who you'd like to see better health for. As we say, Misha Barach, Avotenu Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, V'imotenu Sarivka, Rachel, Leah, Varak, V'rape, et kol ha'cholim ha'ileh, ad Kadosh Baruch Hu, Yimalei Rachim Eleim, L'chazikam Rabotam, B'tok Shari, Holy Israel, Yom Hadin Hi Milizog, Hashbagaz Bankari, V'nomar, Amen. We wish everybody health, everybody who's helping to heal others strength, everybody who wants to get better should see themselves get to better places, and a good year for us all. Amen.
Amen.
So now we're ready to lift and tie the Sefer Torah. Yes? Is that you, Aaron?
And Val.
And Val. Marty's coming to help? Val, you're quite the delegator there, aren't you? What's the matter? Too far? Just in the last row in the back of the room. Val, while Marty's walking up, I want to echo Michael's sentiments and tell you that I don't know where we'd be without you. In so many ways, so many things. From our hearts, thank you very much. Yamod Hagmadia Tamod Hagolel. Let me go sit down. Marty, grab the top. Marty, up here. Grab the top. Grab the top.
Tara, 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 Tiva, Anu, Moshe. Tara, 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 Tiva,
Manu Moshe. Maybe seated, everyone. For the Haftarah, at this time, we're going to share with you the story of Yonah. Yonah in Hebrew is what in English? Jonah, right. Jonah's a biblical book. It's a story about Jonah and the whale. A lot of you know the story. If not, you can read it in the Bible. A lot of you know that the kids know it because they get fascinated with this idea of a whale and with Jonah being swallowed, and it's a wild story. And the Cantor and I are going to share it with you in Hebrew and English. One thought about the book. It's amazing. I've been hearing this story since I was a kid, and every year I try to add to my knowledge and awareness and thinking about what it means. You know, Jonah was told by God and sent on a divine mission to warn a city to repent, otherwise they'd be lost. What did Jonah do? Like a lot of great leaders. Moshe was similar in some ways, a lot of leaders. They're not anxious to lead and to do these things. Moshe didn't want to be the leader. He gave excuses to God. Jonah goes further. He runs away, gets on a ship, and believes he can escape God, and God will forget about him, and he won't have to do this task. He had reasons he didn't want to do it. What happens? You know the story. If you want to read it, it's in the Machzorim, somewhere in here. It's in Yom Kippur afternoon, the Haftarah.
367.
367, great, thank you. You can read it. One of the things that we can be inspired by this year is when we read the story. They say you can run, but you can't hide. There are certain things we run away from, and we can run away from, and we get away with it. But other things we shouldn't run away from. We should actually run to. Amazing stories were told about the 20th anniversary of 9/11. How people ran into the burning buildings, knowing they probably wouldn't make it out, but they did what they could to save lives. There are jobs that we have that we should run to, whatever you do. If you're a parent or a child or a brother or sister or spouse or a friend or whatever, we have obligations. Hopefully we don't run from them too often. Hopefully we run to be there for others, to help them out, to love them. Jonah wound up having to do his job after he survived the whale. And it turned out that a great miracle happened. It went pretty well in the end for the people that he was warning. So too, we read it today to say that even though we feel like we might be lost, our sins might be great. No, if we just pray and hang in there and do our best and take care of each other, we believe by the end of the day, it'll all work out well too. It's really a great story, and it's really inspiring, and I hope you enjoy our presentation of Yonah for the Haftarah today.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nimim tovim v'ratzah b'divreihem hane'emarim emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo v'Yisrael amo v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
And the word of Adonai came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying,
Kum lech el Nineveh, ha'ir ha'gedolah ukra aleha, ki ata hara'atam lefanai.
God said, Jonah, go down to the city of Nineveh and cry out against it, because great is their evil, and they shall be overturned. But Jonah ran away. He fled to Tarshish from the service of the Lord. He found a ship. He went aboard and believed he was escaping the presence of the Lord. But the Lord cast a great wind upon the sea, and a mighty tempest came, and the ship was in danger of breaking up. In their fright, the sailors cried out, "Everyone pray to your God. Let us lighten the ship and hope for the best." Jonah, meanwhile, fell asleep, went to take a nap. The whole world's coming apart. He goes to rest. The ship's captain found him and cried out to him.
Vayomer lo malcha nair dam kum kara el Elohecha ulai yidashet ha'Elohim lanu v'lo noved vayomru isharehu lechuf v'napilai goralot v'neda Beshelmi hara'azot lanu.
The ship's captain said to Jonah, "What are you sleeping for? Everybody's fighting for their lives. They're all praying to their gods. Pray to yours, and let's see who's responsible for the source and if we can fix it." They cast lots, and they decided that it fell on Jonah, and he was responsible.
Hayirana lanu b'asher lemihara lanu ma melachtecha u'me'ayin tavo ma artzecha ve'mizeh am'ata vayomer alehem Ifri anochi v'et Adonai Elohei hashamayim ani yareh Asher asa et hayam v'et hayavasha. Vayiru ha'anashim yirah gedolah vayomru elav mazor asita ki adu ha'anashim ki milifnei Adonai hu v'reach ki higid lahem vayomru elav Manaselach v'yishtok hayam me'aleinu ki hayam holech v'so'er sa'uni v'hatiluni el hayam v'yishtok hayam me'alechem ki yodea ani ki v'shali tasar hayro
So the captain and the crew said to Jonah, "Who are you? It seems that you're responsible." And he said, "I am a Hebrew." He said, "I am running away from the Lord my God, and hopefully we'll all be all right." Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to regain the shore, but they could not, for the sea was growing more and more stormy about them.
Ana Adonai el nanovda b'neshef ha'ish hazeh v'yotitein aleinu dam naki yata Adonai kasher chafatzta asita.
So they decided that Jonah was the problem. They heaved him overboard, and the sea stopped raging.
Vayiru hanashim yirah gedolah Adonai ויזבחו זבח לאדוני, וידרו נדברים.
But the Lord wasn't finished with Jonah, and so he provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah. Jonah remained in the fish's belly 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah did what I think any one of us would have done if we suddenly found ourselves swallowed up by a great fish. We'd pray. Maybe you'd strike out, try to fight your way out, but he prayed to God from the belly of the fish. And one of the explanations of this is, or inspirations, is that you might find yourself in the direst straits, and God knows people have the last couple of years. Hear terrible stories about people dying of pandemic, COVID, how they suffer to breathe. Terrible stories. Other stories too. How about George Floyd lying there, crying for his mother, saying, "I can't breathe." People have been in dire straits. He prayed to God from the belly of the fish.
ויאמר קראתי מצרה לי אל אדוני, ויענני מבטן שהושיבתי שמעת קולי. ותשליכני מצולה בלבב ימים ונחר יסובבני. כל משפריך וגליך עלי עברו, ואני אמרתי נגרשתי מנגד עיניך, אף אוסיך להביט אל היכל קודשך. עפפוני מים עד נפש תהום יסובבני סוף החבוש לראשי. לקצווי הרים ירדתי, הארץ בריחך ועדי לעולם, ותעל משחת חיי אדוני אלוהי. בכי תאסף עלי נפשי את אדוני זכרתי, ותבוא אליך תפילתי אל היכל קודשך. משמרים חבלי שף חסדם יעזובו, ואני כל תודה אזבח לך אשר נדרתי. אשלמה ישועתה לאדוני, ויאמר אדוני לדג, ויכה אל יונה אל היבשה.
Another reason why we read the book today is because Jonah says, I called out to the Lord from my distress, and the Lord answered me. Isn't that what Jews all over the world are doing today? We're gathering in synagogues. We know the challenges, the distresses in our lives, all the tourists in the world and our individual challenges. And we're sitting here today praying for a good year and hoping to turn our prayers into actions. So it really mirrors the human experience, how from the beginning of time to now, people have a lot of ways lived in different worlds and differently, but we're all experiencing the same things. We all have our troubles. We all have our tourists. Whether you're in a whale or not, we all would like to pray for better days and get out and see it. And it says, it seems that Adonai, as God answered Jonah from the belly of the fish, may God answer all of us by the end of the day and seal us in the book of life. And Jonah emerged again from feeling lost and just overwhelmed by his problems and his fate to see the dry land and to be renewed. I hope we will all feel the same at the end of the day, that the high holidays have renewed us and we're ready to relive the best we can for ourselves and for others. Kum lech.
קום לך אל נרבה העיר הגדולה וקרא אליך את הקריאה אשר אנוכי דובר אליך.
All right, here's my Jonah and the whale joke. You ready? It's actually a quote by Dirk Diggler. It's one of my favorite quotes. I just can't stop thinking. It's every time I hear it, I crack up. He said, you know what the definition of confidence is? Confidence is going after Moby Dick in a rowboat with a jar of tartar sauce. I always loved that. You know, there's smarts and smarts and confidence, but the reality is, people who believed that they could do anything, even go after Moby Dick in a rowboat, it's those kind of people that have changed the world. How many times were people told, you know, you can't do this, you can't find a vaccine, you can't stay safe, you can't win, you can't prevail. People who bought into it didn't. But people who said, I don't care what they say, I'm going to make this happen and I'm going to win. And Jonah did. He got out of the whale, and then he started to continue on his mission, and he survived that whale. What an amazing story. The English continues in chapter 3. So what happened? Jonah realized that he had a mission to fulfill. He had an obligation. And so he went to Nineveh. Nineveh was an enormous city, a 3 days walk across. And he started out. And there's another lesson from the book. Sometimes we don't take journeys because we say they're too hard and too far and too beyond us. I can't do it. I can't do it. Can't do it. Whatever it might be. Someone else might say, yeah, you're right. I can do that. But someone else might say, you know what? You don't know till you start. This year, my friends, let us dare to take the journeys we want to take. Let us hope we'll get to the end, or at least get further than we thought. And let us not be what at times we often are, our own worst enemies. We don't succeed, we don't try, because we don't believe that we can accomplish anything. And so on we go, and we'll never know how wonderful it could have been, how victorious we could prove, and how far we could go. Jonah had a long journey, but he took it, and he made it. I wish us all the same with all of our goals and the things we want to do.
Od 40 yom v'nireveh nechpachem.
The people of Nineveh believed God. Let me explain. God told Jonah to prophesy against Nineveh, a great city at that time, said because they're going to be overturned because of their evil. Jonah didn't want a part of this. You know, nobody wants to give bad news. He didn't want to go down to Nineveh and say, you know, God's going to destroy you, because they might have said, oh yeah? Well, how about if we kill you for delivering the bad news? We'll worry about God afterwards. Jonah doesn't want the job. You see how far he runs to get away from it. He'll even spend a few days inside the whale's belly. But when he gets there, realizing he's got to take this journey, and he proclaims against the city, the most miraculous of things happened. And that's another reason why we read this story. Instead of the king being angry with Jonah, how dare you call me a bad king and my people bad? We'll put you in jail or worse or whatever, and your God's not right. Instead, we are told that the people believed. They believed that Jonah was representing God, and they believed that they had to get their act together. So what did they do? They fasted, everybody as one. There's another message, unity, all in this together. And when the news reached the king, he sat in mourning. Instead of saying, who are you to tell me what to do? He sat in mourning. And so the people listened to what Jonah had to say.
Mitam hamelech ugdolav lemor hadam v'havehema havakar v'hatzon al titamu me'uma ayir umayim ayishtu v'itkasu sakim hadam v'havehema v'ikru el Elohim Bechozka וישובו איש מדרכו הרעה ומן החמאס אשר בכפיהם. מי יודע ישוב וניחם האלוהים שוב מחרון אפו ולא נאבד.
So, in our tradition, God isn't so high and mighty that he doesn't listen to us and just carries out his original plans. I've been talking about this throughout the high holidays. We believe in a God that listens to us, that relates to us as a covenant. When Abraham called out, God said, let me rethink this situation. When God called out, Moshe said, why don't you rethink it? God said, I will. What happened? When God saw how the people were doing tshuva, theme of the day, repentance, they had turned away from their evil ways, baby. I mentioned Santana. Oh, it's coming up again. I forgot I haven't given my sermon yet. I'm going to mention that. You'll see why. Oh, no, I did it last night, if you were hearing. Remember he mentioned Santana? Evil ways, black magic woman. It's part of the sermon. God saw this, and guess what he did? He said, I am not going to overturn them because they've overturned themselves. I'm not going to punish them, but instead, their tshuva has pleased me, and now they will survive as better people, and the city was saved. When Jonah saw this, Jonah was greatly displeased, and he grieved. And he kind of like said to God, he said, you know, I knew it all along. I was wasting my time.
Ana Adonai halozeh divari ad heyoti al admati al kehen kidamti livroach tarshisha ki yadati ki ataha el chanun verachom erech apayim verav chesed v'nicham al hara'a v'yataha Adonai kachna et nafshi mimeni ki tov moti mechayai ha-hetev chara lach.
So Jonah believed he had wasted his time. He was told to do this mission. You don't want to do it. It comes down to it, tells the people you're going to be destroyed, and they weren't. Waste the time. Jonah leaves the city. He's upset. He goes and he makes a booth there. Remember Sukkot's coming up, the booths, 5 days after Yom Kippur. Said to see what would happen to the city. God provided an oil plant which grew over Jonah and provided shade for him and saved him from the discomfort of the heat. Jonah was really happy about the plant. You know how it is when it's hot, you get a drink of water, or you get a hat on, you feel good. He was really happy. But then God attacked the plant, and the plant got destroyed. And the sun beat down on Jonah's head again, and Jonah was very sad. In fact, he grew faint, and he begged for death.
Tov moti mechayai ha-hetev chara lecha al hakikayon vayomer hetev chara ali ad mavet atachasta al hakikayon asher lo amalta bo velo gidalto Shebin Laila Chaya, Uvin Laila Avad, Vani Lo Achus Al Nirveh Ha'ir Ha'ir Asher Yishbar Be Mishtem Esre Ribonam Asher Lo Yataha Ben Yamino Lishmolo
God said, Jonah, what's wrong with you? He said, what do you mean what's wrong with me? He said, I had a plant, kept me cool, then it got killed, now I'm burning to death, I wish I was dead. He said, do you really care about that plant? He said, oh my God, it was amazing. He said, you cared about that plant. You didn't grow it, you didn't work for it, you didn't do anything about it. It came overnight, and now it's gone. Should I, in comparison, not care about the people of Nineveh, 120,000 plus that I helped to create, all of my children, and I should just like that destroy them? Jonah said, God, but it didn't happen, which you said what I was supposed to do. I knew it wouldn't happen. God said, you sure? For all of you crossword puzzle doers out there, you'll understand this. You know that the key to successfully doing crossword puzzles is to figure out how they're thinking and all the meanings of the words that you get as clues. You think one way, but they're going another way. God said, Jonah, what did I tell you? The city will be overthrown. He said, it wasn't. You saved it. He said, nah. They saved themselves. They took it seriously that they were acting evilly, and so they changed the evil ways, did tshuva, repented, and so the city was overturned from an evil one to a good one. And that's why it was saved. Overturned didn't necessarily mean destroyed with all the people dead. Overturned meant tshuva, and so I wish all of us to do a little tshuva and to turn away from who we were to a little bit better versions of ourselves so we become new, better people this year, and that'll be a great miracle. And finally, Yonah got it. And Micha concludes by saying, Dear God, you are the one who pardons sins, forgives iniquity. You don't get angry forever. Have compassion on us as you did to our ancestors and promised them that we would be alive forever, your people. And so it's a beautiful story, and it's a beautiful Haftorah. There's a lot of inspiration. I hope you took at least one thing away from the story of Yonah. Try to turn something around in our lives. Try to see the goodness, and I hope things work out well in the end.
El kamocha nosei avon mi'oved al fesha lisharit nachalato lechachazik la'ad apokiach feitz chesed hu yashuv yirachamenu yichbosh avonoteinu v'tashlich b'msulot yam kol chatotam titein emet liYakov chesed liAbraham Asher nishbat alavotenu mimei kedem Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu machalam tzor kol haolamim tznik v'chod avrot haya ne'eman ha'omer v'yosef v'debrim kayim shkol v'rav v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'amanim devarecha v'davar echad mivarecha chol yishuv rekam ki elmech ne'eman v'rachamad ata Baruch ata Adonai
Shalom.
Ayalaman b'chod avraham
Amen.
Rachem al Tzion ki b'chayenu v'lalu v'nefesh toshi ad mimei Rav Yameinu Baruch ata Adonai
Ushmo.
v'samech Tzion b'v'necha
Amen.
Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu Meliyahu Rav Yavdecha u'malchut Beit David Mishichecha b'mhera yavo v'yagel libeinu al kisolo yeshev zar v'lechalot acharim et kevodo Div Shem Kodesh Nishbata lo shelo yipene ro le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai
Ushmo.
Began Magen David
Amen. Yashkoach Chazan, thank you for a beautiful Hebrew reading of Yonah. Yom Tov, everybody. Good day to you all. Hope you're doing good. Know a lot of people aren't eating, and it can get tiring and all that, but it's Yom Kippur, and it's a singular day. And look at somebody's back together again. It's been a long time since we've seen faces. So it's a good thing. And hopefully we're going in the right direction. I want to share with you some thoughts before Yizkor. Yizkor means to remember, and I'm soon going to get into lessons that we can learn from the pandemic, because life is for learning. On this holiest day of the Jewish year, Yom Kippur, one of the reasons we've gathered together is to remember. The Hebrew word is liskor. We remember the lives of loved ones who have died and now live on forever within us. Today we consider and reconnect with the pain and anguish of death that we've experienced in our lives. Today we wish that those people were here celebrating with us, still holding our hands. As Jews, we recall not only individual losses but also collective losses, lives of great Jews who helped to define our heritage, Rabbi Akiba, Rabbi Hanina, the Jewish communities that were persecuted during the Crusades and the Inquisition, and the unspeakable tragedy of the Holocaust that claimed 6 million Jews and 5 million others in the Nazi death camps. Annually, on this most sacred day, before we gaze forward and try to move on, we spend sacred moments least core to remember the past and to cherish those connections. Yom Kippur is a unique day for many reasons. Due to the pandemic, as you know, we haven't been gathering like we used to. A lot of us are here. Also, a shout out to a lot of people who are on live stream. It's really cool, the people who are running it, Peter and Max, they run it back there. Supposedly, if you know anything about technology, I'm lucky if I could turn on a light. If you know technology, they could see like where people are checking in from. And they said to me, who's watching us from Florida? Like there's not a closer shul than ever? I said, who's watching from Florida? Are you kidding? It's my father. My father went down to spend some weeks with my brother. He got sick, but he's doing better now, and he didn't want to miss anything, so he gave him the live stream. He's watching it from Florida, and it's made him very happy to see us, to see me, his eldest son, etc. So it's amazing what technology has done, and it's really something. We've all been dealing with a lot of issues the past couple of years. Today we have to remember, a lot of people died. 20 years ago, 9/11, thousands perished in a moment's notice. They woke up, started their day, ended the day, the whole world was different. Pandemic, all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of people, more have died. This country, hundreds of thousands, and it's not over yet. We've got to remember them. But for the grace, go we. Think about people who've died in racial violence. People died January 6th at the Capitol insurrection. People have died, unfortunately, at the hands of law enforcement. Innocent people dying right on our streets. Every time I hear about a kid who was killed by a random gunshot somewhere in Philly, I just cringe. Can you imagine that happening to us? A lot of us don't live in neighborhoods where we feel that kind of evil on a daily basis. But then again, I woke up today and I heard that in the early morning hours, someone was killed at Pat Steaks. Talk about a Last Supper. It's tragic. So much death. Every day. Some that can't be helped. Until we get on top of the pandemic, people are going to die from it. That's what it is. That's what it does. But we've gone very far to get vaccines and masks and social distancing and are cutting down on it, and hopefully we'll get further. But killing each other, this doesn't have to be. Innocent children shouldn't be. There's a lot of people to remember this day during this time of Yizkor. You know, people say when the pandemic's over, we're going to get back to normal. Not so sure. First of all, what's normal? What's normal for you, normal for me, normal for somebody else? And second of all, I think the pandemic has changed the world forever. We're not just going to go back to the way things were. A lot of people have realized they can live life differently. They like being at home, so they work at home. So they're not going to go back to offices. They can watch over their kids. They do things differently, and people are embracing that. I'm not sure that the future is going to be bringing back the past. So life supplies us with an endless series of teaching moments. We talk about it. I think we would be greatly doing a great disservice to ourselves if we don't learn anything every day and we don't learn anything from what we've gone through. Because a lot of people died who'd like to be alive to learn these lessons. So I wanted to share a few thoughts with you. Maybe they'll resonate with you, or I leave you with the challenge of what have you learned in the past year and a year and a half about who you are, about who we are, and the best way to live. Couple lessons. Number one, family and friends really matter. Before pandemic, we didn't spend as much time with them, certainly not family. How many of us got up in the morning, maybe didn't see them, or said goodbye, went on, maybe saw them at the end of the day, said goodnight, and then 2 weeks a year, we said we're spending quality time with these people. But we didn't spend as much time as we did. Now we're under the same roof, nowhere to go. You know, now it's a little bit more, but you know what I mean. And so we suddenly found out what was going on in our homes. Do we have shalom bayit, peace in our homes? Do we like our spouses, our kids, our parents, our siblings? Or are we like, oh my God, get this pandemic done with, I can't wait to get out of here. Get in my car and just run away for 8-9 hours a day. Hopefully we learn that the people around us mean the world to us. They're going through a hard time as are we. They benefit from us, we benefit from them. And it wasn't just like a pressure cooker, but a place where we came to appreciate them very much. Think about all the people who live alone. They don't have anybody to hug or to kiss or to sleep with or say goodnight to. They would like to have someone to fight with once in a while and strive with. So we hope that all of us will appreciate the people in our lives and realize that family and friends really do matter. And when the pandemic is over, and maybe we'll get back to seeing others, let us not forget the people who gave us life, we share life with. Let them mean the world to us. Lesson number 2, take care of your health. When the pandemic came, all of a sudden we were in new routines. A lot of us, or for a while, we might have taken advantage of the sofa. Wow, I get to sit here on the sofa. I was talking to a colleague not too recently that said, I haven't worn a suit in a year and a half. I said, I know, we used to wear them all the time. He said, we don't do it anymore. How many people have spent their days at home in pajamas and shorts and t-shirts, the same ones? We see these cute commercials on TV. I love this one where a guy's standing in his underwear and his t-shirt, and he comes out and there's neighbors and guests there for dinner. And he turns to his wife and says, I thought this was Zoom. She goes, he's thinking he's going to sit in the camera. They're not going to see him. He's wearing his underwear. Life changed. Some of us stopped being active. We stopped going to the gyms. They closed gyms. Now we could just sit around. But others were determined to say, I see where this is going. I better watch myself. So they ate healthy. They ordered healthy food off lots of TV commercials. All these companies that are making and sending healthy food for you. They turned their homes into gyms. They went out for daily walks and bike rides. It wasn't predetermined that we had to get fat and lazy during pandemic. We had choices, and a lot of us learned that we could stay healthy and it could be done. The Torah considers watching your health one of the greatest mitzvot you can do. It's called Ushmartem Anashotechem, guard your souls. We are told that it's a mitzvah to watch out for yourself and stay healthy because we want everybody to live. What's the traditional Jewish number? How long? Live to be what? 120. Why? Right. But it wasn't just that he was alive, and we're reading the story right now in the end of the Torah. Torah says he was strong, his eyes were straight. He didn't leave the job because he couldn't do it anymore. It was just time for a move, for somebody else. But Moses was strong at 120, and so we say you should live to be 120. That means like Moses, and strong till the end. It's really great to be healthy. You know, health is one of those things, you don't appreciate it until you lose it. Then when you get sick, all of a sudden you realize, oh my goodness, I'm in the hospital, I have a broken leg, I have this. The people, again, I heard horror stories. You guys know, pandemic in the hospitals, people were gasping for breath on ventilators, not knowing if this breath was their last. And it took a toll on the people who lovingly cared for them. They were out of their minds. A lot of them couldn't handle it day after day. It was too much to go through this horror. So if we can stay healthy, that's great. And moreover, if we can help other people stay healthy, that's great too. There are a lot of people today lost jobs, businesses closed, they don't have food, they don't have food for their kids, they don't have enough water. Look what's going on around us. Look what we went through with the, was it Ida that hit us hard? Did you see the pictures of the expressway underwater and people were told in the area, be careful what you drink. If it's discolored, you take it for granted. You turn on the faucet, get a drink of water. All right, maybe not today. Yom Kippur, get it? I'm not drinking that either, right? But when you miss these things, or they're taken away by nature, by circumstance, all of a sudden, holy cow, I don't need water. I don't have a job. I can't pay my rent. Let's do what we can. Stay healthy, stay well, and help others do the same. A lot of people are in need. Lesson number 3. I hope we'll all have a newer appreciation for what technology and medical advancements have done for us. In 1918, there was a pandemic and it claimed thousands of lives. It took years and decades to develop and perfect the vaccines. Today, here we are, already vaccines. So many people have gotten them. But it always hurts me again when I hear that there are countries who have no vaccines. They're not accessible to them. We take it for granted. Go to CVS, go to your doctor, go to whatever. Not every country's got a CVS, got a doctor. People are still suffering. So let's remember what medicine and technology has done for us and the great medical care we have here, as opposed to so many people around the world who aren't even beginning to get better and don't have connection to great resources. Can you imagine what we do without Zoom and live stream? Since it started, we went to Zoom. We have been operating on Zoom at full speed. We've had services, classes, Shiva Minions, B'nai Mitzvah, board meetings, school, class, because of Zoom and live stream. If we didn't have the technology, we would have just call me when we're better. We'll see where we are, and who knows what happens a day later, let alone a year, 2, 3 more later. Val, we want to thank you, Aaron's here, Peter, Max, a million people who've contributed to making that happen. All I got to do is go on because you've made it happen. So thank you for that. Let's appreciate that, and I want to encourage all of you to connect a little bit more with us on Zoom and live stream, because great things are happening there. You don't need a reason to be there, and you don't have to be a rabbinic genius to be there. We got a lot of people that show up all the time. They love it, and you'd be surprised how much fun you can have. Meet some new people, learn something. It's really cool. Lesson number 4. No matter what happens to us, we can adapt, we can change, and we can survive. Shimon Ravinovich was moved to write an essay entitled Jews Are the Ever-Dying People. Since the beginning of Judaism, we never thought we would survive. Go back to the beginning, you know the story. God told Abraham to kill Isaac. Abraham's thinking, kill Isaac? It's supposed to be the start of a people to last for thousands of years. I'm going to kill it before it gets started? What are we going to have, one Jew, me? That's it? I'm a religion, a crowd of my own? What happened after that? Esau said, I'm going to kill Jacob. He winds up killing Jacob. Guess what? Maybe Judaism's gone forever. It's happened all the time. We suffered destruction of temples. We suffered the destruction of our land. We lost it. We went into diaspora. And then you get to the Holocaust, and boy, who would want to be Jewish after the Holocaust? Every generation seems to have its challenges, where we think we might be the last ones, you know? Because a lot of Jewish generations, even if we survived, didn't do things the same. We thought maybe, yeah, it's disappearing. So we're the ever-dying people. You'd think after 4,000 years we cut ourselves a break. Go, maybe we're not disappearing so quickly, you know, even though we carry this fear. We have met history head on. We've adapted. We're on Zoom. We are here. We will be here. We should be very proud of ourselves for how we survive no matter what. And the last lesson is this. Expect surprises. Never say never, and prepare for anything. If someone would have woke up on 9/11 and someone would have said, oh yeah, I got this premonition, you're not going to have a good day. Why? I'm going to work. I'll see you tonight. Hindsight, we know. Someone would have said, pandemic's going to change the world. What are you talking about? We're fine. What, this? First of all, it's in China. Second of all, nobody could see it. Third of all, how's it going to get here? And now look at all of us sitting with masks on. Never say never. Things happen. It's always been that way, and it probably will always be that way. Sometimes we fall into the illusion that the more we learn, the more we know, the more we're masters of our own world. But then Mother Nature comes along and reminds us just how small we really are, our feelings of grandeur. You could stand there with a sword in one hand and a gun in the other hand, and you're not going to beat pandemic. You're going to feel really small. Pandemics reminded us of that, and it's a great lesson to learn because it makes us feel a little bit more humble in this world. And humility is something which is a great way to live. You know, there's a Jewish expression that says, people plan and God laughs. I'm sure you've heard that. Who amongst us has not had plans changed or broken for one reason or another? Yeah, but we were supposed to do X, Y, and Z. Well, I'm sorry, but you got a flat tire. I'm sorry, but somebody got sick. I'm sorry, but there was an emergency. We just don't do the things we plan to do all the time because life is bigger than that. A favorite Grateful Dead lyric of mine is, there's nothing you can hold for very long. So enjoy what you got and appreciate it because one day, chances are it'll be gone. This is the way of life. We're all here but for a limited time. Most of us don't know how long and how those years are going to go. And we're reminded when we hear the prayer, who shall live and who shall die, who shall be well and who shall not. So if pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us uncertainty. Back in 2018 on a Shabbos morning, do you think 11 Jews went to daven in a Pittsburgh shul saying, I better say Kaddish because I'm going to need it for myself by the end of the day? You remember that story. It goes on and on. George Floyd, on and on. Breonna Taylor, there's so many names. Who wakes up thinking this is going to be my last day? Who went on 9/11 to the World Trade Towers up to the top and went, might as well stay here. I know I'm not leaving. You never know. Reality hits us. When we read it in the newspaper, it's a story. When it hits you, and eventually it'll hit us. It hits us all. Suddenly the story is life. What do? How do we react? Let the pandemic teach us to live humbly, gratefully, lovingly, not to miss an opportunity to share our love, to tell people what they mean to us, and let us do what we need to do right now because tomorrow might not come. The more we accomplish, the sooner we do it, the fewer regrets we'll have when it's all over. So remember, my friends, life can hit us hard when we least expect it and change everything. A lesson from pandemic. Let us remember Yizkor, the people who died before us, who live on in our hearts. Let us remember the individuals that we knew and the people in the world who did not live to see the end of their time, but were claimed early, and now we miss them. Let us remember how much our family and friends, even the stranger in the street, should mean to us and act accordingly. Let us remember that at one hand, so much is out of our control, so let us remember to seize what we can control. We can decide to say the right thing and not the wrong thing, to do a mitzvah as opposed to not care, to do the right thing to help someone and not do the wrong thing to hurt them. This we can decide, this we have power over. Let's use our power to help ourselves and to help all others. Remember that every day the situation changes and necessity is the mother of invention. Look at us. We've adapted. Look at these things. I never dreamed I'd be standing behind them. But if they're keeping you safer and me safer, good thing. So that's what we did. I never thought we'd read Torah in the middle, but it separates us a little bit more. It's a good thing. We adapted. Let us remember, too, again, that life doesn't always follow our scripts. Just because you have plans doesn't mean they're going to happen. So let's live accordingly, be in the side of goodness, love, and harmony, all good things. Let's be a bracha to ourselves and to others and help our planet. In a world filled with so much uncertainty and sadness, in this hour of Yizkor, let us remember to confront life with power and determination, to remember those who have died, to help others live, and to be a force for light, love, and peace in this world of ours. Amen. We are now going to continue with the Yisker Memorial Service. I hope these thoughts touched your hearts and your souls, and I hope that they created thoughts of your own, because we each have a sermon within us that we need to hear and give. I want to just remind you of the schedule, and then we'll do Yisker and wrap up. 5:30 today is Mincha. About 6:45 is Nila. One way or another, we're blowing the final shofar here at 7:45. A lot of people like to come back. I think Val got light sticks. We'll hear the shofar, Havdalah, 7:45, we're done. Page 290 is Yisker.
Adonai madam tedaeu, beninosh v'chashveu, adam lehem erdama, yamav ketzeru, baboker yatzitz v'chalaf, L'erev yemoleh vayavish, limnod yamenu kenoda, v'na lilvav chochma.
The deaths of those we now remember have hurt us and pained us and left holes in our lives. But today we want to express our gratitude that they lived. Try to remember them, L'zecho tovav livracha, for their goodness and as a blessing, for we recall them this day in our love. Page 291, and the next couple of pages, whether your tradition is to stand or sit, we invite you to connect with the individual prayers of Yisker, remembering. Today we remember the lives of people who were so close to us, immediate family that we miss from recent days and over the years. Today we remember extended family, people are like family, friends are like family, and friends that we miss in this world. Today we remember the martyrs of Jewish people who gave their lives, including 6 million, who died tragically, 1/3 of the world Jewish population then, and they're all remembered by us all. So let us remember all these people with the sacred words of the memorial prayer at the top of 293.
במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, לשמור כל אלה שהזכרנו היום לברכה, שהלכו לעולמם בגן עדן, תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר, רפאך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, ינוחו בשלום, משכבותיהם, ונאמר Amen.
293 in the English at the top together. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, whose radiance is like the heavens, to the souls of all those we've recalled today. May their memory be a blessing, and may they rest in paradise. Master of mercy, may they find eternal shelter beneath your sheltering wings, and may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. Adonai is their portion. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
To remember them all, the sacred words of remembrance on 294, the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alama divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imaru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivorach, liolam ulomeo maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shmei dekudsha b'richu, le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'alama v'maru, amen. Yehei Shloma Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'maru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav. Who says Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'maru Amen. Page 298. We remain standing as we open the ark and return the Sefer Torah to the Song of Eitz Chaim. May it be a tree of life to us always. Shalom, Hashivenu, may be seated, everyone. I want to invite you to turn to page 337. 337. During Yom Kippur, we take sacred moments to remember so many stories, so many Jews and others who were persecuted during their lifetimes. On 337, we hear the story about Rabbi Akiva. According to the story, the Romans said the practice of Judaism is now forbidden, but Rabbi Akiva kept teaching Torah. He was warned, they're going to find you. He was captured, he was imprisoned. The hour of his execution came, and he was greatly tortured. His disciples gathered around him, and they cried out. The story in the Talmud says, Zet Torah v'zes charo. Is this what Torah is all about? You represent the epitome of Torah. You learn so much, you're a great rabbi, you teach us so much, and now you're dying young and painful. And he said, this is exactly what the Torah says. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your might. He said, till this moment, I wasn't sure I was given all I got. Think about that lesson. Think about yourselves. You know when we give all we got. You know when we're just going through the motions. You know when we care. You know when we're giving 10%, 20%. Can you really give 100%? And can you give 100% all the time? You'd be like superhuman. It's not easily done. Akiva said, as I die, I believe I've given everything to God in my tradition. And so I am thankful for that. And I die with the word Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And that story is known today because it made such an impression on the people there and the people who told the story. A lot of you know that Jews, before they go to bed, in case they don't wake up in the morning, that's a tough way to go to bed. But sometimes, we don't always wake up. Jews give thanks in the morning for life. Before they go to bed, what do they say? Shema Yisrael. Because they do like Akiva did. And they say it with their kids. It's a great way to teach the kids, and it's a great way to end the day. So Akiva, as opposed to his disciples who were beyond distraught with watching their Rebbe and this great Jew die painfully, Akiva was like celebrating the moment. Isn't it great when you can feel good that you're actually doing something you were born to be and do, and you feel like you're doing it with all you have? For all the athletes out there, what do they say? Leave it all on the field, right? Doesn't make a difference if you win or lose. Just do your best, and we'll take it from there. That's the story of Rabbi Akiva. We remember him today, his faith, his fortitude. May we all have strong faith in God, ourselves, and the future, and live a life that'll help to make that a blessing. So that is the story of Rabbi Akiva. And now as we conclude, I think I already told you the schedule, didn't I?
Yes.
I did. Okay. Did I, Canner?
Yes.
Oh, sure? Do you want to hear it again?
What time is it?
You know what happens? You know what happens when people start to stand up? I always tell the schedule because I'm afraid they're not going to hear it and they won't know. But I did tell it. Thank you for reminding me. If you leave, you come back, great. If you don't come back, we're on live stream. A lot of people like to hear the chauffeur come back. Jeff Walters, we're hoping he'll be back. And may it be a good, meaningful day for us all. Don't forget Sukkot's coming up. And Shmini Atzeret, we'll light Yizkor light. If you didn't light a little Yortzeit light last night, 24 hours, do it. Today, tonight, whenever it's good for you, because you can still remember. It's never too late. And if we want to go look at plaques, they're all lit up in the back to remember all the people that we've put back there and name to remind us of them. So we're going to end now. Come back later. Hopefully we'll see you in good health and happiness today, later, in the days and years to come. If you're comfortable putting your arms around people near you or gesturing towards them, we want to close with words of blessing from the Torah for all of us for a good year. Ken Yiratzon. Ken Yiratzon. Ken Yiratzon. May the Lord bless you and keep you, give you light, health, happiness, love, and grant you peace. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Happy and healthy, everybody. Gamar Tov.